Overnight, the car market has flipped on its head. Prices are plummeting, inventories are exploding, and dealerships are in full-blown panic mode. Experts have just revealed a shocking announcement that's sending shockwaves across the industry, leaving automakers, dealers, and buyers scrambling. Why are once untouchable cars being sold at massive discounts? What does this mean for your next purchase, or the value of the car you already own? Stick around to uncover the truth and learn how this game-changing shift could directly impact your wallet and reshape the way we think about cars. Is this the start of a new era? What if I told you the car market as we know it is on the verge of collapse, and one announcement is to blame? This shocking revelation has sent tremors through the automotive world, upending everything from boardroom strategies to consumer expectations. Automakers are scrambling to pivot, dealerships are panicking over the potential fallout, and buyers are left wondering how this will reshape their lives. From manufacturing giants to local dealerships, everyone is bracing for what comes next. Consumers, already grappling with rising costs, now face an even murkier future. And here's the twist. This announcement isn't just about cars, it's about the future of how we live and move. The changes it demands are so sweeping that they could alter the very fabric of transportation as we know it. Just think about it. Overnight, a single announcement has upended decades of established norms, forcing the industry to confront new realities. So what's happening? The announcement that changed everything. The automotive world was blindsided by this, an expert-led declaration that's rewriting the rulebook. At its core, this announcement introduced a groundbreaking mandate requiring automakers to meet aggressive targets for electrification, sustainability, and technological integration. Internal combustion engines are slated for a sharp decline as regulators demand a swift pivot to electrified fleets. Environmental policies have never been more stringent, and this declaration has made it clear that the time for incremental change is over. The announcement's unprecedented nature lies in its immediacy. The timeline provided leaves automakers with little breathing room, igniting a frenzy of activity across research and development departments. For dealerships, the implications are equally profound. Inventory strategies, pricing models, and customer engagement must all be reimagined overnight. But what led to this moment? Years of increasing scrutiny over environmental impact, technological advancements in electric vehicles, and shifting consumer preferences have all coalesced into this inflection point. Policymakers and industry leaders alike are betting that this bold move will catalyze the shift to a cleaner, more efficient automotive future. And the implications? They'll impact far more than the cars we drive. The ripple effects will extend into the economy, urban planning, and even the way we think about ownership versus mobility. So what now? Where do we go from here? Can we recover? System already on the brink, and imagine trying to fix a crumbling foundation while the house is still standing. That's exactly what automakers are facing. Even before this announcement, the automotive industry was grappling with mounting pressures that threatened its stability. For years, overproduction has plagued the market. Dealership lots are overflowing with unsold vehicles, a result of manufacturers overestimating demand during the pandemic recovery period. At the same time, skyrocketing vehicle prices have made car ownership increasingly out of reach for many families. Consumer trust, too, has been steadily eroding. Scandals, recalls, and price gouging during the pandemic left buyers feeling betrayed by the very brands they once revered. Now, with this announcement demanding a rapid shift to electric vehicles and sustainability, those existing cracks in the system are widening into chasms. The industry's historical reliance on internal combustion engines has left it ill-prepared for such a sudden pivot. Supply chains built around traditional vehicles must be overhauled to accommodate the materials and technologies required for electrification. Meanwhile, dealerships are facing unprecedented logistical nightmares as they attempt to clear inventory that's rapidly losing relevance. And it's setting the stage for a crisis no one can ignore. Automakers, already stretched thin, must navigate this turbulent landscape while trying to remain competitive in a market that's being reshaped before their eyes. The immediate consumer impact. What most people don't realize is that this announcement could completely redefine what it means to own a car. For the everyday consumer, the effects are already palpable. Confusion is rampant as buyers grapple with the implications of a market in flux. Should they buy now, wait for prices to stabilize, or pivot to alternative transportation methods altogether? Shifting priorities are becoming evident. Many consumers are delaying purchases, uncertain about the long-term value of vehicles tied to outdated technologies. Electric vehicles, while promising, come with their their own set of challenges: high upfront costs, limited charging infrastructure, and questions about resale value. Skepticism is also on the rise. Buyers are wary of automakers' ability to deliver on promises of reliability and affordability in this new era. Memories of pandemic-era price gouging and recalls have left a sour taste, and this announcement has only amplified those doubts. And the ripple effects are only just beginning. Wait until you hear how automakers are responding. The next steps they take could either restore consumer confidence or deepen the divide between brands and buyers. Automakers under fire. Here's where it gets really intense. Automakers are now scrambling for survival. For decades, the giants of the automotive industry operated on a system that, while not perfect, was predictable. But in the wake of a game-changing announcement and shifting market dynamics, this predictability has been obliterated. Major players like Ford and Tesla have been forced to take drastic measures. Ford, for instance, has announced significant production cuts, scaling back its output to avoid adding more vehicles to already overflowing dealership lots. At the same time, the company is heavily discounting existing models, offering rebates and financing deals to entice buyers who are otherwise hesitant. Tesla, known for its innovation and market dominance in electric vehicles, has adopted a different approach. The company recently slashed the prices of several of its most popular models, a move aimed at maintaining its competitive edge, but one that raises questions about its long-term profitability. These bold moves are not limited to the electric vehicle sector. General Motors is reportedly reevaluating its entire production strategy, focusing on streamlining its offerings to prioritize high-demand models. Meanwhile, Toyota is taking a more cautious route, leaning into its reputation for reliability and introducing scaled-down versions of popular vehicles to appeal to cost-conscious buyers. Despite these efforts, the real question is, are these changes enough to save the industry? Experts warn that while these strategies might alleviate short-term pressures, they do not address the systemic issues plaguing the market. Slashing production might prevent overstocking, but it also risks alienating consumers who cannot find the models they want. Massive discounts may move inventory, but they can devalue brands that have spent decades building reputations for quality and prestige. The automotive industry finds itself in uncharted territory, grappling with a dilemma: adapt quickly to survive today, or risk losing the foundation needed to thrive tomorrow. The dealership dilemma. Dealerships are caught in the crossfire, and the results are devastating. Across the nation, these once thriving businesses are facing unprecedented challenges. Lots are overflowing with unsold vehicles, creating logistical nightmares. Rising operational costs, from staffing to facility maintenance, are cutting deeply into already razor-thin profit margins. For some dealerships, the strain has become unbearable. In the last year alone, dozens of franchise dealerships have shut their doors permanently. Independent dealerships, which often lack the financial backing of larger franchises, have been hit even harder. These closures are not just numbers. They represent lost jobs, weakened local economies, and a shrinking network for automakers to distribute their vehicles. Survival strategies vary widely. Some dealerships are embracing aggressive sales tactics, slashing prices to move inventory at any cost. Others are pivoting to focus on used vehicles, a sector that has remained relatively stable compared to the chaos in new car sales. Still, others are investing in online platforms, hoping to capitalize on the growing trend of digital-first car shopping. However, these strategies are not without risks. The shift toward digital sales, for instance, requires significant investment in technology and training, which many dealerships cannot afford. Similarly, focusing on used cars might offer short-term relief, but it does little to address the systemic challenges posed by the announcement and the broader market upheaval. And yet, some dealerships are taking bold risks that could reshape the market entirely. A growing number are exploring subscription-based models, where customers pay a monthly fee to access a rotating selection of vehicles. This approach, while still in its infancy, could redefine how Americans think about car ownership. For now, though, the reality remains bleak. Dealerships are struggling to navigate a crisis that shows no signs of abating, and many are asking the same question: is survival even possible? Price wars and consumer traps. Jaw-dropping discounts might sound great until you see the hidden cost. Across the automotive landscape, dealerships are slashing prices like never before in a desperate bid to clear their lots. Vehicles that once carried hefty premiums are now being offered at discounts of thousands of dollars. On paper, it looks like a win for consumers, but the reality is far more complicated. These aggressive price wars are not just about moving inventory, they are about survival. With each passing day that cars sit unsold, dealers dealerships incur mounting costs, from financing fees to depreciation. To mitigate these losses, they are offering everything from cashback deals to zero-interest financing. Popular models like midsize trucks and sport utility vehicles are now selling for a fraction of their original price, a trend that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. However, these discounts come with significant risks. First, there is the issue of brand devaluation. When consumers see a vehicle heavily discounted, it can erode their perception of the brand's value. This devaluation can have long-term repercussions, making it harder for automakers to return to pre-crisis pricing. Second, there is the issue of consumer hesitation. Buyers who see these steep discounts might be inclined to wait even longer, hoping for prices to drop further. This creates a vicious cycle. Dealerships lower prices to move inventory, but the perception of desperation only deepens, pushing consumers to hold off on purchases. Finally, there is the risk of unsustainable practices. The deep cuts dealerships are making now might help in the short term, but they could also lead to financial ruin if sales volumes do not increase quickly enough to offset the losses. And here's why these deals might not be the bargains they seem. As dealerships slash prices, they are often cutting corners elsewhere, whether in after-sales service, warranties, or hidden fees. The price wars might clear the lots today, but they are also paving the way for an uncertain tomorrow. Winners and losers in the new market. Not everyone is losing in this crisis. Some buyers are making out like bandits, while others are being left behind. The automotive market has always had its winners and losers, but the current crisis has amplified these divides like never before. For well-informed buyers, this is a golden age of opportunity. Those with cash on hand or strong credit are scooping up vehicles at prices that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. For example, luxury models that once commanded six-figure price tags are now being sold for tens of thousands of dollars less. Similarly, mid-sized trucks and family vehicles are being offered at discounts that make them accessible to buyers who were previously priced out. But for many Americans, these deals are out of reach. Rising interest rates have made financing a new car prohibitively expensive, with monthly payments exceeding what most households can afford. In major cities where the cost of living is already sky high, the dream of car ownership is slipping further out of reach. This affordability crisis is creating a stark divide between those who can take advantage of the discounts and those who cannot. The implications of this divide are profound. As fewer people can afford new vehicles, the used car market is becoming more competitive, driving up prices in that sector as well. At the same time, automakers are losing out on a significant portion of their traditional customer base, forcing them to rethink their strategies. And this divide is setting the stage for a massive market shift. The question now is not just who can afford a car today, but what the future of car ownership will look like for an increasingly divided America. The overproduction crisis. Here's a shocking stat. There are more unsold cars today than at any point in the last decade. Dealerships across the country are overflowing with rows of shiny, untouched vehicles, and yet fewer buyers than ever are stepping onto their lots. What went wrong? The answer lies in a single word: overproduction. In their eagerness to recover from the pandemic-induced production halt, automakers ramped up manufacturing at unprecedented levels. It seemed logical at the time. With pent-up demand surging and supply chain issues easing, producing more vehicles felt like a surefire way to meet consumer needs and regain lost profits. However, this strategy backfired spectacularly. The automotive market operates on a delicate balance of supply and demand. Over the last few years, demand forecasts became increasingly unreliable. Automakers relied on outdated methods, failing to account for the long-term impacts of rising interest rates, inflation, and changing consumer priorities. As a result, they flooded dealerships with cars. Confident buyers would snap them up, but instead of a buying spree, dealerships were met with silence. To make matters worse, pandemic recovery efforts exacerbated the problem. Many automakers overestimated how quickly consumers would rebound financially. While some households emerged relatively unscathed, others faced economic pressures that made car ownership less feasible. Rising costs across the board, from groceries to housing, forced many potential buyers to put their dreams of a new car on hold. This glut of inventory is not just an inconvenience for dealerships, it's a financial nightmare. Each unsold car represents a significant sunk cost, and the longer these vehicles sit on the lot, the more expensive they become to maintain. Interest on loans used to stock these vehicles, known as flooring costs, adds to the financial burden. It's a ticking time bomb that threatens the stability of dealerships and manufacturers alike. But the deeper issue, this isn't just about cars. The overproduction crisis reveals a systemic problem in the way the automotive industry operates. Outdated forecasting models, a reliance on short-term gains, and an inability to pivot quickly in response to market changes all point to a system that is fundamentally out of sync with modern consumer behavior. Electric vehicles in the spotlight. Electric vehicles were supposed to save the industry, so why are they now part of the problem? Automakers have invested billions in electrification, touting it as the future of transportation. Yet, electric vehicles have not been the silver bullet many hoped they would be. High costs, lukewarm adoption, and lingering infrastructure challenges have turned what seemed like a golden opportunity into a significant hurdle. Let's start with the cost. Producing electric vehicles is expensive, primarily due to the high price of batteries and other essential components. Despite advances in technology, these costs remain a barrier to widespread adoption. For consumers, the sticker shock is real. Many electric vehicles are priced well beyond what the average household can afford, especially in an economic climate where every dollar counts. Adoption rates tell a similar story. While early adopters and environmentally conscious consumers have embraced electric vehicles, the mainstream market remains hesitant. Concerns about charging infrastructure, battery life, and resale value continue to deter potential buyers. For many, the perceived risks outweigh the benefits, leaving electric vehicles as a niche product rather than a mass market solution. The recent announcement intensifies these challenges. By pushing for rapid electrification, policymakers and industry leaders are forcing automakers to accelerate their plans, often at the expense of quality and affordability. The rush to meet ambitious goals has led to production bottlenecks, quality control issues, and a growing disconnect between what automakers produce and what consumers want. And yet, the future of electric vehicles might depend on one surprising factor: trust. For consumers to fully embrace electric vehicles, they need confidence in the technology and the brands that produce them. Without trust, even the most advanced electric vehicle will struggle to gain traction in a skeptical market. Hidden agendas and power plays. What if this announcement wasn't just about cars, but about power, politics, and control? Beneath the surface, the automotive industry's current turmoil may be less about consumer demand and more about who holds the reins of the future. Consider the role of lobbying. Major corporations wield significant influence over regulatory decisions, often shaping policies to align with their interests. Could the push for electrification and rapid industry shifts be driven by hidden agendas rather than purely environmental concerns? Some experts suggest that the push for electric vehicles is as much about maintaining market dominance as it is about sustainability. Economic policies also play a crucial role. Governments worldwide are incentivizing the transition to electric vehicles through subsidies, tax breaks, and infrastructure investments. While these measures aim to encourage adoption, they also create a competitive advantage for automakers that can afford to adapt quickly. Smaller players and traditional manufacturers may find themselves squeezed out, unable to compete in a rapidly changing landscape. The global race for dominance adds another layer of complexity. Countries like China and Germany are heavily investing in electric vehicle technology, seeking to position themselves as leaders in the automotive industry's next chapter. For the United States and other nations, staying competitive means making bold moves, even if those moves come with significant risks. And this isn't just speculation, there's evidence to back it up. Recent reports reveal a coordinated effort among major automakers to influence regulations, shape consumer perceptions, and secure their foothold in an uncertain future. These power plays may explain why the industry appears to be moving faster than consumers can keep up. Rebuilding consumer trust. Trust in the automotive industry is at an all-time low, and this announcement isn't helping. For years, consumers relied on established brands to deliver quality, value, and reliability. But a series of high-profile missteps, from price gouging to widespread recalls, has eroded that trust, leaving buyers skeptical and cautious. Price gouging during the pandemic dealt a significant blow to the industry's reputation. As demand outpaced supply, some dealerships imposed exorbitant markups, alienating loyal customers in the process. While these tactics may have boosted short-term profits, they left a lasting stain on the industry's credibility. Recalls have also played a major role in undermining consumer confidence. From faulty airbags to transmission issues, these incidents raise serious questions about quality control. Buyers are left wondering if the cars they purchase will live up to the promises made by automakers. To rebuild trust, brands are turning to transparency and innovation. Many are introducing extended warranties, transparent pricing models, and customer-focused policies designed to repair damaged relationships. Others are investing in cutting-edge technology to improve reliability and demonstrate their commitment to quality. and one bold move might be the key to winning buyers back. Some automakers are embracing a direct-to-consumer model, bypassing traditional dealerships to offer a more streamlined, transparent purchasing experience. By cutting out the middleman, these brands hope to rebuild trust and show consumers that they're serious about change. The road to recovery won't be easy, but it's essential. Without trust, the automotive industry and its vision for the future will struggle to gain traction. Trust isn't just a nice to have, it's the foundation on which the industry's next chapter must be built. A new consumer mindset. What if the biggest change in the car market isn't about cars, but about us? The automotive industry is facing a shift unlike anything it has seen before, and at the center of it is the consumer. Buyers today are no longer captivated by glossy advertisements or promises of cutting-edge technology. Instead, they are laser-focused on what matters most: affordability, sustainability, and practicality. The announcement has become a catalyst for this change. As costs soar and uncertainties grow, consumers are reevaluating their priorities. The days of purchasing vehicles with every imaginable feature are fading. Instead, buyers are looking for cars that fit their budgets, require minimal maintenance, and align with their values. Electric vehicles are a prime example. While they were once hailed as luxury items, today's buyers see them as practical solutions to long-term fuel costs and environmental concerns. This shift is forcing automakers to confront a new reality. No longer can they rely on brand loyalty or flashy innovations to drive sales. They must adapt to a consumer base that is more discerning and demanding than ever before. Affordability has become a non-negotiable, and sustainability is no longer optional. And this mindset shift is forcing automakers to rethink everything. The rise of alternatives. What if owning a car becomes a thing of the past? For decades, car ownership was seen as a rite of passage, a symbol of freedom and success. But now, a growing wave of consumers is challenging that narrative. The announcement has amplified interest in alternatives like car-sharing programs, subscription-based services, and improved public transit systems. These options are appealing not just for their convenience, but for their cost-effectiveness. Imagine a world where you can access a vehicle when needed without the burden of ownership, insurance, or maintenance. This is not a distant dream, but a reality that is gaining traction in urban centers around the globe. Public transit is also seeing a resurgence, with governments and private entities investing in infrastructure to make it more accessible and efficient. Subscription services offer flexibility that traditional car ownership simply cannot match. Need a car for the weekend? Swap your plan. Want an electric vehicle for a road trip? Upgrade temporarily. These shifts are not just trends, they represent a fundamental rethinking of mobility, and this could disrupt the industry more than any single policy ever could. Automakers must decide whether to compete with these alternatives or embrace them as part of their offerings. The stakes are high, and the decisions made now will shape the future of transportation. Automakers' risky bets. Automakers are placing billion-dollar bets, but will they pay off? As the industry grapples with a rapidly changing landscape, manufacturers are pursuing bold strategies to stay afloat. Some brands are doubling down on electric vehicles, pouring resources into research, development, and production. The goal is clear: to dominate the market as consumers increasingly prioritize sustainability. However, the cost of electric vehicle production remain high, and charging infrastructure still lags behind demand. The risk? Overcommitting to a segment that has yet to fully mature. Others are scaling back production to avoid the pitfalls of overproduction that have plagued the industry in recent years. By focusing on fewer, higher quality models, these automakers hope to reduce waste and align supply with demand. Yet this strategy carries its own risks, particularly as competitors flood the market with diverse offerings. Some manufacturers are carving out niches, targeting specific demographics with specialized vehicles. This approach allows them to avoid head-on competition but limits their market share. The gamble here is whether these niches will be profitable enough to sustain long-term growth. And one gamble might just redefine the future of mobility. As automakers navigate these risks, one thing is clear: the industry is being reshaped in real time. The winners will not be those who stick to tradition, but those who adapt boldly to the shifting tides. But what do you think? Start the discussion down in the comments below.